Hey there, welcome into a brand new week and daylight saving time for most of us. Going to start with a thought as we always do. Some people see the glass half full, others see it half empty. I see a glass that's twice as big as it needs to be. George Carlin. Well, welcome in, and on this, the Ides of March, I turn my focus to the echoes of March. Thanks to the comments you made when I posted on Facebook last week that I'd always thought the reason I didn't clean was because I didn't have time, but lockdown proved that wrong. So I was reminiscing about this time a year ago when I thought, I'm not going to order a bunch of masks online because by the time they finally get here, this will be over. Yeah, right. So I asked about your misconceptions and I got some great responses, about 140 of them. So I chose a few to share today. And as always, thank you for staying in touch through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, email, whatever way it is that you reach out. A great many comments centered around connection. Judy wrote, I remember saying to my son on March 13th, but we'll still have Easter dinner, right? And he said, Mom, I don't think so. And here we are a year later, same conversation, same answer. From Lynn, I was made aware of the huge inequality in our world. The haves could ride it out and complain about being bored, not being able to hug your grandkids, couldn't go south this year, and so on. The have-nots lost jobs, some were scared, hungry, some were cold over the winter. I realized, she says, that cashiers, nurses, doctors, teachers, maintenance workers, shelter staff are the most important people in the world. I realized how lucky I am and will never take it for granted again. Truly, Lynn, none of us will take the before life we had or what we cherish or miss most now for granted. But I'll suggest to you that even those who've been struggling the most also miss the most the hugs and grandkids and children and friends. Because as Claire points out, it's not what we have, but who we have that matters most. She says, I've definitely been made aware of my strengths and weaknesses this past year. I find myself quite often saying, I don't care, mostly about material things that surround me. I know I'm picking up the phone to speak to my family members on a daily basis rather than the usual, I've lost track of time and really should call so-and-so. She goes on, oh, I also know that my husband and I apparently have a hidden talent when it comes to cutting and coloring hair. Ah, yes, the topic of hair came up a lot in your observations. Joanne said her hairdresser made her promise she'd never try to cut her own hair again. And speaking of care, Brenda despairs for the plants she left in her office when they all bugged out. And this was an office where they had dealt with PPE for SARS and Ebola in the past. Remember when we didn't know what PPE even meant? She thought she'd be back soon. The good news is the plants were cacti, so there's hope. Mally shared this observation. My biggest misconception was thinking technology could be dehumanizing and cold and tricky to learn for some, despite a job, she says, which depends on it. I learned that students could learn effectively, build connections, elders could connect with family, individuals would innovate, inspire, create, and communicate using whatever was available. Thanks, Mally. And then, of course, because of the universal balance of yin and yang, there was the flood of misinformation and outright lies people were fed, disguised as facts. Stella notes, I always believed that if people were given scientific evidence from top medical teams around the world, they would abide by the rules in order to be safe and keep their loved ones safe. And yet, some people continue to do whatever they want to do to the detriment of everyone else. And finally today from Norma, so many changes in 1 year that we never saw coming or never expected it to have the impact it did on our lives. If we've learned one thing through all of this, I hope it is the love of family and friends brings true happiness, not the things we thought we needed. Yep. Right down to the toilet paper and Lysol wipes. Remember when we treated our groceries as though they'd been shipped from Chernobyl, wiping them down? We learned so much in the past year, but if your comments are any indication, and I think they are, the biggest lesson to hit home has been something we knew all along. The importance of hellos and hugs, of information, and most of all, connection. It's why doing this with you means so much to me, and I appreciate you being here. We've a long way to go, but we're heading there together. and we can do this. I say it a lot, but I believe it. Talk to you again on Thursday, and thank you.